thank you all, every one of you, for coming because this is my birthday present, Christmas present combined. Because this wasn't my idea. I promise you, it wasn't. Uh, Danielle didn't know what to give me for Christmas, so she didn't give me anything. And and Joyce didn't either, but Joyce had the idea because that album was done back when I was 29, and I just turned 70 yesterday, so 41 years ago. Anyway, so I guess they wanted to record that. Well, like the Bible says, man's life is 70. I just crossed that yesterday, and they don't know how much time I got, so I got to get this down. And that's okay by me. But anyway, thank you all. There's so much talent in this room. I feel kind of intimidated. I mean, Roger there, he's his grandmother, Aunt Jenny Wilson, and my grandfather, Yalla Bug Ellis, were brother and sister. And so, I've raised my whole life with Roger. And there's so many singers and musicians here. But anyway, they wanted me to record this out. I mean, record these stories. And I want to tell you first about my grandfather. I got my notes right here. Uh, we grew up very poor. I mean, there was 5 of us kids and 2 cousins, and mom and dad made 9. And so, there were times we had a car, times we didn't. But, we're a very close family, a lot of love. Dad always told everybody, and he drove a bus, so you can imagine with 9 people in the house. I mean, we weren't at the top of the food chain. But Dad, he always entertained us, and I was very proud of my dad being a bus driver, and he did it for 37 years. And that's why I became a bus driver after I got out of the military. So I want to tell you about my grandfather Yellowbug, because that's Roger's great uncle. And I don't know if Roger knew about one of the best hunting stories I ever heard. Papa Yellowbug told it. But first, I want to tell you how Papa Yellowbug got his name. Now, I just didn't think anything unusual about him being Papa Yellowbug. I mean, I thought that, but then as I got older, nobody else is named Yellowbug. So my dad told me how Papa got his name because it's not a very common name. Nobody ever had that name. So anyway, when he was dating my grandmother, her name was Holleen Richards, and his name was Jesse Wilmer Ellis. And back then, the old saying is, the best way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And so she decided she would prepare a big meal and show him what a good cook she was, and maybe he'd propose to her sooner. He was 20, she was 16. People got married a lot younger then. So anyway, she planned this big meal, and she invited 8 or 10 neighbors over, so she didn't want to be too forward about it. And Papa heard it was going to be a real blowout, so he wore his suit over. And they were very poor, but she had the best of everything she had there to make an impression on him. And so everybody was seated, and somebody gave it grace. And she served the salad first, and when Papa started to eat his salad, a big yellow bug crawled up under a leaf of lettuce, and Papa didn't want to embarrass her because he loved her and knew all the trouble she was going to. So he rolled it up with a leaf of lettuce, stuck his fork through it, and ate it. Yeah, yeah, that's a true story. And a neighbor saw him and told everybody what it really embarrassed Papa and Mama both. And so, I was just 4 or 5 years old when I heard that, and I couldn't believe he did that, and that's how he got his name. So I remember running over to his house and said, Papa, is that really true how you got your name? You eating that yellow bug? He said, well, Pagey boy, I said, I didn't really taste it. I rolled up that lettuce, and I chomped it twice to kill it and ran it on down, you know. And I said, I guess there's nobody I ever loved or ever will love because there's nobody I'd eat a yellow bug for. But he did. But anyway, the story, the best hunting story I ever heard, my Papa Yellow Bug told it. And I never, well, my buddy Greg Patton asked me to tell that story at the Mendalia Festival, at the Liars Contest. Now, every story I'm going to tell you tonight is the gospel truth except for this story, but it is the gospel truth that my grandpa Yellowbug told the story. But it goes like this, He when he was young, he was bow hunting over there in Logan County, and he had made some arrows the night before, and he left out and just after daylight, and he climbed up the mountain, and he got to a flat there, and he was kind of out of breath. He leaned against a tree to get a breather. Anyway, and all at once he noticed a big buck deer over on the other side of the stream, and he loaded his arrow and got ready to shoot when he happened to glance down the water and saw 2 big trout just simmering there in the water. And he said he thought to himself he'd hate to shoot that deer and let those 2 trout get away. And they were swimming right beside each other. So the arrows were green because he just made them yesterday. He bent the tip into the arrow a little bit, and he aimed down through the water, let the arrow go, went right through the 2 trout, through the deer, and stuck up in a big tree on the other side. Yeah. So he said he waded down in the water and picked up the 2 trout, laid them down beside the deer, checked the deer was dead, went over to the tree to pull the arrow out. And when he pulled the arrow out of the tree, something started running out of the tree, and he tasted it like that. It was honey. Yeah. A wild bee tree, which later he said he got 3 tubs of honey out of that wild bee tree. But But he said he just stood there for a moment enjoying that honey, and he got some on his chin. He reached back to his handkerchief, wiped his chin off, and he grabbed something fuzzy, and it scared him. He grabbed it and slung it. It was a big rabbit. Slung that rabbit so hard, when it in that flock of quail, it spinning around, killed 6 quail. Yeah. So he went over and picked the rabbit and the 6 quail up and tied them on his side. He had to go get help to carry the 2 trout and the 3 tubs of honey and the deer out, So he waded down through the river and come up on the other side, and he looked down, and there was a catfish on the head of every one of them quail. Yeah. And he said something in his boots was bothering him, made it hard for him to walk, and he stood on his stump, took his boots off, and they were plumb full of mussel shells and crawdads. And he said he was so proud of how well he had hunted. He threw his chest out like that and popped the button and killed a gray squirrel. So, yeah. So he said if it had a deep freeze back then, they hadn't been invented yet. He'd only had to hunt once a season to get all that. But since it was, he had to hunt that hard every month to get the deer. Now, like I said, we were poor when we were young. We had a garden and we had chickens. I had 50 chickens, and I started working when I was 9 years old. So as of yesterday, I've been working for 61 years. And there's a couple in here who do the same thing, Roger and Joe. Joe's been selling insurance for 49 years. But anyway, I enjoyed working. I don't know what I would do. I mean, what do you do if you quit working? I mean, wait for the ambulance that's going to take you to the nursing home, or the hearse that's going to take you to your eternal resting place. I mean, I like to keep busy and I like people. But anyway, well, I had these 50 chickens, and my mom lied to me. She told me it was real hot summer, August, and dust was that thick on the hill, and she said there was a dead rat down in my chicken water. Well, I didn't care for going. Didn't bother me at all to go down and grab a dead rat by the tail and sling him over the hill. And I went down there and grabbed hold of that rat, and he was more alive than I was, and he curled up there and got me between the fingers, and I couldn't get him off. And so I grabbed hold of his body and squeezed him, and he turned me loose, and I went up, and blood was pouring off my arm. I said, Mom, that rat wasn't dead, I mean, she lied to me, So anyway, we didn't have a car then. So whenever we got the neighbor, he was going to take me to the hospital. And Mom and I rode up to the hospital with him, and this real pretty nurse told me to come in and pull my pants down, bend over, and she'd give me a shot. And I'd have died with what I had before I'd have done that. I wasn't going to do it. This other nurse came along. She was older, no teeth, and ready to retire. I let her do it for me. And the time I got home, knots come up on my head. My eyes swelled shut, and they didn't know if it was a rat bite or what. But anyway, so Mom called up the hospital, and they want the rat. And we didn't have a gun then either, so I had to go back and get my neighbor to get his gun to go shoot that rat. I crawled underneath the chicken house and got the rat after he shot it, took it up there. Anyway, so they did some experiments. The rat wasn't rabbit. It was a result from the tetanus. So to this day, that's why I still wear this necklace: allergic penicillin, sulfur drugs, tetanus, iodine, cure, common enamel paint. And that's the gospel truth, Danielle and Joyce wrote all these stories, and I'm going through the list. They want me to tell some stories about my dog Johnny. Now, if I ever loved a dog, it was my dog Johnny. Like I said, I started delivering papers when I was 9 years old, and this dog Johnny, I don't know what his name was, and he hung around the company store. And Daniel, my brother, brought him home and kind of claimed him, but he started following me on the paper route, so he became my dog. And I started out with 12 customers. And less than a year, I had over 200 customers. I mean, I knocked on doors on weekends, and other guys wanted to give the routes up. I would take them. So I delivered the Charleston Gazette and the Herald Dispatch in the morning. Then the same people in the evening, the Logan Banner. I carried 2 satchels and had my papers dropped off at different places. And Johnny went with me. He knew everybody's house and go through it. Matter of fact, when I had to learn something to memorize in school, I'd carry it with me in a notepad and just watch Johnny. I mean, he'd take me to all my people. Anyway, we were very close, I still got dog bit at least once a month, and people didn't sue then like they do now. So anyway, Johnny could whip most all dogs, but there was one big dog named Walter that, could whip Johnny, and he jumped Johnny several times. Johnny would look at me like, "What are you going to do?" And I'd get a big rock or a club, and I'd help Johnny. And Johnny would come out like that. I mean, he had personality. But anyway, one day we were coming across a railroad bridge. And it was the spring of the year, and the fish were spawning. You can see all the carp down there, and I wanted to go down and get a closer look. And so got down there, and I could watch these fish jumping, and Johnny was in front of me, and I stepped on the stick, and the sky went black with yellow jackets. And Johnny was biting him like that right there, trying to get him, and I was swinging my paper satchel like a rodeo, trying to get him off of me. And Johnny took a big run and went in the river. I said, "That's a smart dog, man." I went right in the river with him, and we floated and bobbed down the river till we come out down at the bridge. We had lots of episodes, Johnny and I did, but one of the things that was the most, well, you'd be the judge. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was out delivering my papers at 4:30, And, you know, 9 years old, 10 years old, I wouldn't let a 19-year-old out there now the way the world is now. It was much different then. We didn't have, I forgot to tell you about that. You know, think about the difference between then and now. I mean, you know, people gathered around and told stories or talked with each other, and now, you know, cell phones and stuff, they don't do that kind of communication. I mean, when I wasn't delivering papers or in school, I hung out at the railroad crossing a lot because I love to hear the old people tell about how life used to be and how an elephant put that railroad tower up on War Rock Mountain. Big carnival, 20 horses couldn't pull it up, but one elephant did it. But I love stories like that, you know. Well, Dad said he was a little boy. He said, "Watch that." He said they took those horses loose in that wagon of steel to put that radio tower up on War Rock Mountain over in Logan. And there'd been a circus in town. They brought one big male elephant, didn't even have a harness for him, and put a raw chain around his neck, and a little foreign guy with a little whip tapping that elephant and telling him what to do. A whole wagon load of steel. And when he leaned into it, Dad said wrinkles coming in his rear end that big, and he didn't even stop till he got to the top of the hill where that wagon. I mean, I like stories like that. But anyway, what happened this one morning, you know, have you ever had a dream that, you know, somebody's chasing you to kill you with a knife or gun and you can't run fast enough? This is the first time I ever had that sensation. We were delivering papers, and I went by this sidewalk that was right next to the building, right next to the post office, and there was a house in the back of it. I laid the paper on the porch and came walking back, and a light came on, and there was a naked woman walking right to me, and I froze. I never seen anything like that. I guess I froze too. Well, young boys do think about that kind of thing, and this is the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And I froze, and I didn't know she's walking right to the window, but her husband's laying in the bed right here by the window. He raised up, and our faces weren't that far apart, and so man, I couldn't run fast enough. I'm telling you, my brain told my feet to get it, and they just hesitated too long, man. I ran as hard as I could, and there was 2 railroad tracks up here. I grabbed my dog and dived between the ditch and held my dog down. He's cussing and hollering at me. I can see him, but he can't see me because the street lights there. I'm in the dark. And after he went in the house, I couldn't wait to finish delivering my papers and tell my dad what happened, because, I mean, I thought the guy was going to kill me. But I didn't do anything wrong. I just mesmerized too long. But anyway. Yeah. Oh, and she got a story in here about, uh, when I went in the military then, well, I'd quit college. Mom enrolled me in college in Columbus and to work on computers. I'd never seen a computer, and I hated it. It was all male college. And, you know, I mean, 18 months long to work on computers. We were still running outside when a jet flew over. I mean, to work on computers. Anyway, but my brother-in-law done it. She thought it'd be good for me. And I never saw any use for a slide rule. I still don't. But anyway, in about 3 months, I'd lost almost 18 pounds, 20 pounds. And by the time I graduated, I weighed 11 pounds, so I just know I couldn't make it. You know? So I turned my books in. I'm leaving Columbus and coming back to Lawson. Anyway, so the draft, my number went from 4A to 1A. And I was told you have about 30 days before you be drafted. So I thought I had a better chance of living if I went ahead and joined, and I did. And, you know, I was so busy as a child, I never spent the night with anybody. I mean, I never flown on a plane before, and so I had to go down to Ashland, Kentucky, and, you know, I had to stay 2 or 3 extra days because I had some speeding tickets and stuff they had to deal with. So anyway, this little old lady from the Red Cross came over and said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Have you ever flown before?" I said, "No." She gave me a little bag and had a prayer with me. And as the plane left, there was more people like me, young guys, that were carrying those same little bag of Red Cross. And so when we got down into Amarillo, Texas, 1 a month from every draft station had to go to Amarillo. I was the one for Logan for April 1967. And, you know, I don't want to go into all the details about how they did this that night, but it's typical military. So anyway, for 4 or 5 days, we marched in our regular clothes with our regular hair, and, you know, they call you rainbows. Well, he's teaching us to march, and some guy hollered out the window, called us rainbows. He stopped us right there, went in there and got that guy out and beat him to a pulp right there. Now, I watched a lot of that fake wrestling, but there was nothing fake about this. I mean, man, he beat him, left him laying there. And, you know, I mean, he had my attention. Yeah. If he told me to jump flat-footed over his house, I'd clear it 3 feet. I mean, the man had my attention. You know, I'll never forget his name was Hacker. I'd like to run into him now. I really would. But anyway, they do that, and then when we got 180 guys, they're going to start processing us. Now, this is the way it was for me. They had 180 guys and we'd already learned a taller tap, and that's where if you're taller than the guy in front of you, tap him, and they keep moving back, then they do about face. So all the tall guys will be in the back, and the shorter guys up front. So I was toward the back, and then they give you a little green bag with a string on it to hang on your arm. Put your wallet, your watch, and any personal possessions you have in that green bag. Now, they had runners, and he's up on a platform with a megaphone and telling us what to do. And so they give you a box, put it by your left foot. Take off your shoes and put them in there. Put your socks in there. Put your pants in there. Put your shirt in there. Undershorts, everything. So when they get finished, there's 180 guys standing there naked with a little green bag hanging on their arm. So then he says, now, I'm going to give you your undershorts, 6 pair. Put them by your right foot and come back to 10. So, they have runners going. They don't ask you to wear 32, 34, 36. They just slam you with a bag of those 6 in the pack, undershorts right here, and the T-shirts right here. So we're all standing at attention. We hadn't got to put our shorts on. This takes hours to do this. Still standing there naked, 180 guys. So anyway, he said, when I give you the word, I want you to pick up 1 pair of shorts, put them on, like we're going to wear all of our new shorts out at one time, You know what I mean? I mean, there might be some ignorant ones there, but I knew one pair at a time. So when he gave us the word, we tore him that pack and jumped out our new shorts, and we come back to attention with new shorts. He said, now, is there any of you boys don't have a fly? Well, everybody's checking. We got a fly. And this one guy, I'll never forget him. That front, he's what's the matter, you boys? He said, I don't have a fly. He said, where are you from, boys? I'm from Missouri, sir. He turned those things around, but come back to attention. Well, I'm standing behind him, and I see him stick his finger in his butt, and from then on, we called him P-Hole Berg. Yeah, P-Hole Berg. I mean, how people like eating a yellow bug can give you the name the rest of your life, a yellow bug. P-Hole Berg, here he goes, And if you get sick in basic training, matter of fact, I don't know if you know much about Amarillo. When we got there, they told us, if you want to go AWOL, go ahead, because we won't look for you for 3 days, because we still can see you going, I mean, that's how level it is, And I was wishing the whole time I married some woman that had about 6 kids or gone to Canada. Man, I didn't sign up for this, But just being healthy and warm, you got to do it. So anyway, in for the long run, there's no way to get out of it. But anyway, so Berg got sick one morning, and it got a sore throat, and you got to go to the dispensary, get your medicine, and get back in formation. Well, you could take any one of the 180 guys and put them anywhere, and everybody else knows where to fall in. And so anyway, Berg was out, and he's going to get some pills, and you don't ever put anything in your front pocket, because when you march, you have to march to where your heels make your cheeks quiver, And so, Berg was right front, second back pivot man, out here. And so Berg got his pills, put them in his front pocket, got back in formation, and we opened up for him, And so we were on a catwalk, it's a big wooden platform that we were marching on, and Berg had those pills in his front pocket. So you can hear our feet marching, and it's jingle jingle these pills, jingle jingle, and everybody's looking around wondering where this at, because we all got mesmerized. And you stay with that guy's head. Well, we all got off, and our heads weren't going right, and it, because of those pills, it's messing us up, And the TI doesn't know anything about the pills. The TI knows that Berg went to the dispensary and fell back in, but we're all out of shape. So we were in a curve, and you can't stop you in a curve, so you have to wait till you get out of the curve and give you 3 or 4 steps before he can give you a halt. But he saw, when we turned left, Berg was mesmerized over his pills. He was 2 steps out there by himself. I mean, the whole outfit was here, and Berg was out there. So Berg got back in real quick, and he got us straightened out and stopped us. And he said, Airman Berg, front and center. Berg went up there and said, sir, Airman Berg reports his order. He said, what's the matter, you boy? You been taking them stupid pills again? He thought he was talking about the pills. He, yes, sir, took 2 this morning before I fell in. He took his hat off and started beating. That's why we call him P-Hole Berg, they started beating him, because he owned up taking stupid pills. And then he did kick him a couple times, too. And that's the gospel truth. I had so many accidents in military hunting. When I came back from Thailand, of course, if I could turn one day back in my life, would be the moment, the time of coming home after a year. That was, of course, everybody was sick of the Vietnam War and stuff like that, and that wasn't good. But anyway, I was the only one. I got bumped in Cincinnati and had one flight to Huntington. Mom and Dad were there to pick me up, and I was it was a good day. But anyway, Dad and I went hunting, and we were hunting with Boss Martin. Roger knows him, and Boss Martin was a mountain man. When I had 10th grade biology, I need to get a drink. Biology, I just went and got a bunch of pretty leaves. and boss helped me identify them. That's a beech, that's a birch, that's a black gum, that's sugar maple, on down. I had them done in less than 30 minutes, and boss was that good. Anyway, so boss wouldn't know his name if you wrote it big as this house. He had this finger off where a mink bit it in a trap, and he was very serious about hunting. He'd chop the whole world down to get a squirrel. Thank you. Anyway, so we went hunting down Mud River, and we killed 7 squirrels. I only used 3 shells because boss twisted 4 of them out. You know what I mean? He twisted them out when they go up a gnawed hole, and if there's no hole above it, boss would twist them out and sling them against a tree and kill them. You know, so 4 free, 4 free squirrels, 3 shot. And we were coming back home. We had the dog in the trunk, and a squirrel ran across the road. Well, Dad was driving, and boss and Butch and me. Dad stopped and turned the dogs loose, and he went down over the hill and up the other side and treed that quick. And I'm running behind him in weeds about this high, loading my shotgun as I went. And all at once my feet went out from under me, and I was flying toward the creek, and I landed in the creek, and I heard it break, but I thought I broke the stock on my gun. And my gun was okay. And then when I started to get up, my collarbone slipped over, and I just nearly passed out, because I've always been nauseous when I break a bone. And so, you know, Butch came back and get down and got the shotgun, went and killed the squirrel, and I'm still laying there. And Dad hollered at me, "Get up!" And then he saw I really must be hurt, or I would have gotten up. So Dad went running down there. Dad's 6'2", about 150 pounds. That's why he's named Slim. And I couldn't tell him. I tripped over one strand of barbed wire underneath those weeds about that high. So I didn't know what happened, and he hit the same strand of barbed wire, got airborne like a big spider, and landed right on top of me. And I'm hoping they didn't send anybody else, because I can't take anymore. I'm already broke up, you know. So anyway, you know, I was the only one that had any money on me, and I needed something for pain, because I could hear my collarbone moving, you know. And so we stopped, and I did drink a lot when I was in the military. I don't drink much anymore. But anyway, I was only, so my Butch rolled me up and got my wallet out and went and bought two pints of orange vodka, because I needed something, and I drank that. I was ready for major surgery time. I got to Logan. But anyway, so when we got up there, I stopped at the house, and Mom took my hunting coat off and took shears and cut my long johns off, and then laid my coat over. Went up to Logan General, and they x-rayed me and saw that my collarbone was broken. So they took me down the basement, and he put his knee in my back and put my brace up. I can walk like I could just bought the Logan General, man. I was like this. You know, I mean, that's hard to do, because you can't even hardly pee. You can't reach nothing, you know what I mean? And brushing my teeth, I had to do like that. Because, you know, I mean, everything's too short now, you know. And we didn't have a recliner, so Mom took a kitchen chair like that and laid it over and put 6 pillows and lowered me down. I laid there 3 days. Couldn't see nothing but look at the ceiling. Anyway, and have to even loosen my brace up so I could go to the restroom, because I couldn't reach myself. So anyway, I called the base where I was down in Charleston, South Carolina, at 792nd Radar Squadron, and they knocked 3 days off my leave time, which was good. So anyway, that was that hunting season. The next hunting season, I was hunting Francis Marion National Forest. Now that is a story in itself. You know, Francis Marion, called the Swamp Fox, he killed more people letting the Yankees chase him, and he'd lead them into quicksand than they did with the guns. I mean, he had credited for killing a lot of people, leading them into quicksand. So anyway, all the soupy holes are all roped off or filled in or drained. So anyway, and that's about 35, 40 miles from where my base was. And so I had a 66 Plymouth convertible, and I was out there hunting, and I killed a couple of squirrels. I was by myself, and I came back in my car. I'd parked in quicksand, didn't know it, and it sunk down to the doors, you know. And oh my gosh, I loved that car. I bought it new, you know. And so way out there by yourself, I opened up my trunk and got my spare tire and started trying to jack my spare tire out of sight. I said, oh my gosh, you know, nothing to jack on, no rocks, no. So anyway, I started running. I was in good shape then. I ran a couple miles, and there was another hunter, and I told him what happened. He took me to a phone booth, and a wrecker came, and the wrecker stayed 100 yards away from me and ran a big chain around a bunch of trees, and then he winched me out like he's going to pull my car into. Now, that taught me a lesson that I don't need to be out there by myself, because there's a lot of water moccasins and so forth. And I used my old 20-gauge poke stock to see how deep the swamps were before I waded across. But there's a lot of water moccasins, so I realized, especially with me, accident prone, not good to be out there by myself. So I shared a room with a guy who was a city slicker, from Cincinnati. And I talked him into squirrel hunting with me. I taught him to squirrel hunt. And, you know, it was good to have another partner. There wasn't such thing as cell phones or GPSs in. But we decorated our room. You know how the military is. Everything has to be 2 fingers apart. we had squirrel tails all around our room. It smelled like a roadkill. But all around our room, squirrel tails. But it's kind of cool. But anyway, if Bob killed 2 squirrels, I'd kill 4. If he killed 4, I'd kill 8 because I heard him shoot, and I know he's a good shot. And so I always wanted to kill because I taught him to hunt. I feel like pressure to kill more squirrels. Anyway, so we're out there this one day, and somebody had a chainsaw and was out there cutting timber, and I hadn't seen but one squirrel, and it was way across the swamp, and Bob was over. He'd already killed 2 squirrels. I know he had. And so I decided to take a shot at this squirrel. It was way up in a big water oak. It was this big around. And it was way up in the top, and I shot it, and it twisted around and died up in that tree about 80 feet off the ground. Well, that's the only squirrel I'm going to get today. Bob has already killed 2. So I holler for Bob to come and help me get that squirrel down. That way he won't be killing anymore. That's not good, is it? But anyway, it's just hunting. So anyway, I couldn't climb this tree, and I had seen Boss do so many climbing trees, and he'd cut the whole forest down to get one squirrel. So anyway, there was 2 grapevines about that big around going up that first limb, and so I told Bob to watch and keep his gun loaded in case that squirrel isn't dead and starts trying to run out on me. And a lot of Spanish moss hanging, and it was about 18 feet to that first limb. I started going up that grapevine like that, and I got just about where I could reach over that limb and climb limbs the rest of the way, and that thing broke, and I'm heading toward the ground. I thought, oh gosh, man, the roots, how those roots run on top of the ground. I didn't want to land on a pile of those roots, but you can't help it. I'm going to hit them anyway. And so I thought I'd spring my legs so I wouldn't drive both legs up through my chest cavity. And so I landed like that, and this foot went on me, and it as fast as my heart beating, that thing was swelling. It was I'd broken it in 4 places on the bones and once in the back. Anyway, so forget the squirrel. So anyway, Bob helped me to the car, and he drove me to the hospital. On the way to the middle, I was on a radar site, but the main base was about 3 miles away. And so when it's dark like that, they have an emergency call or something, but the main hospital is closed. So you have to go in this ramp and go in, and it was the OB/GYN doctor on call that night. So anyway, and I didn't know if he knew what he was doing, but he x-rayed it, and he said, yes, it's broken, but I want to put a half cast on it, and you come back tomorrow and see the orthopedic surgeon. Okay. So anyway, and he put me on crutches and didn't tell me how. I'd never been on crutches before, but anyway, I made it out and around the car, and so anyway, they didn't give me anything for pain, and my leg was just throbbing. And anyway, so Bob went over there and got me 6 straight shots of bourbon. That helped me sleep. But yeah, and he called and said, what can you do for pain? So somebody said, soak hot water. Well, anyway, they got my trash can and put hot water in, and you could just watch my foot swelling more when I put it in there. And he'd gotten another barracks instead of the doctor, because you don't soak a broken bone in hot water. So they took my trash can, dumped it out, and put ice. So I went to sleep halfway in the bed with my foot in the bag and a trash can of ice. Then the next day, Bob drove me back over to see the orthopedic surgeon, and there was 2 other people there too that came in later to get casts on. So anyway, he said it was broken. The bones going to the toe were broken, and the heel bone was broken. He put this cast on. That's before they had that plastic. Fiberglass stuff. They had to melt everything in plaster and wrap it all in gauze first and everything, and then put that on to keep wetting it and putting it on. Anyway, he said come back in 3 weeks and he would give me a walker to put on the bottom of it. So okay, and anyway, and then these other 2 guys are going to get casted up there. So I was going out, and Bob was carrying my boot just in case that baby doctor was wrong last night. And anyway, so we started, because it could have been a sprain. And so anyway, we're going through there, and I'm talking to Bob the whole time, and the hospital's buzzing, people going in and out. And I thought, well, maybe we can't squirrel hunt, but we can coot hunt, float in a boat, and shoot ducks, coots. Anyway, so going out through there, and Bob and I were in a big way of talking the whole time. This is my first time on crutches, and they were adjusted for me. And the hospital's busy. I can't go out down the ramp I went before. And before I knew it, Bob opened up the door for me, and there's 6 steps going to the parking lot. And I didn't know whether to put my foot or the crutches first. And boy, you got to think about that. I put my foot, I couldn't touch the step. And I said, oh, man, wait. The parking lot like that. And man, drove them in before I get stopped. I'd have gone through a car, like they broke both my collarbones. Man, I tell you, my armpits hurt worse than my leg ever did, trying to get stopped, And so nothing to do there. And I already busted the bottom of the cast out. And so I just picked those crutches up, went back in there. And, because my leg didn't hurt at all. My mind was on my armpits, And so went back in there, and the doctor, and he got really mad because there's two guys here waiting on cast, and I need a second one, and he thought I was trying to get out of the military because what other idiot would do something like that? And I said, I had to convince him that I mean no harm. I know I'm government property. I wasn't trying to destroy myself, and I don't even get a sunburn. I try to take care of myself. But, you need to get some training before you send them out those 6 steps to the parking lot. I mean, I don't know whether to put my foot or the clutch first, and I can't remember. It happens fast which one I did, So, you know, uh, anyway, so he was really mad because these guys, so he went ahead and took that one off, and I mean, he made it so thick that, oh my gosh, you had to been a muscle builder to lift that thing. I mean, you could, so anyway, I'm trembling now because I can't put any weight on my armpits, and I'm going out there holding that thing, and when I got out of his sight, I left a chalk mark to the car because I couldn't carry it. Anyway, and I forget about coot hunting now because the boat turned over. It'd take me to the bottom like Moby Dick. I couldn't, it was too heavy. So anyway, then when I go back to the base, they want to know how it happened, how it could have been prevented. Well, you know how the military is. They're worried if there's a third party involved. I wrote out on this long form exactly like I told you how it happened, and then how could it have been prevented. Well, it was made very clear to me when I went in the military that I was government property, that you forget about your mother, father, your wife, girlfriend, you belong to Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam owns you, and you do what you're told. So anyway, I said, knowing that I'm government property and I was hunting in the National Forest, which is government property, that they ought to take better care of me, and they ought to have a load limit on every one of them grapevines, and have them tested, so that, if there's a vine there and it's 120, I'm 180. I don't climb that one. I'll find another one. Yeah, and every tree stump and snag ought to be striped black and yellow. I mean, to prevent tripping hazards, that's the way the government is. Anyway, and all those quicksand places should be barred off, and there should be paths going through that are safe for the hunter. I went on and on with a bunch of stuff, and they published it on a Rex Riley folder because Rex Riley was a hero for the military, big caption, and it had my story got published and hung in the chow hall. It said, "I, airman, anybody, could this happen to you?" It was my story. I used to have that till about a few years ago. I don't know if one of the girls got it or anyway, but that's a gospel true story. Mm. Now, another thing that happened to me when I was in Thailand, you have the monsoon, and the monsoon lasts for maybe 3 months or something. It rains every day, rains all the time, and the rice paddies fill up, and everything you do, you get wet. Now, everybody only had 2 pairs of boots, and it takes longer than 2 days for a pair of boots to dry out. So you're wet all the time. Your feet are wet all the time. I'd buy a couple cans of powder a month, and it didn't really help that much. But anyway, and the barracks that we stayed in had louvers like this. Louvers, and when it would rain real hard, it would even wet your bed, wet everything. So anyway, my feet started cracking open and peeling, and so I went to the dispensary, and they gave me this liquid medicine in a jar about this big. He said, wash your feet real good, put it on your feet, keep it on for 10 minutes, you're good. I don't think there's anybody could last 10 minutes of that medicine. Man, it was like putting battery acid on an open wound. I couldn't take it, or alcohol. Anyway, and I made it maybe 5 minutes, 6 maybe. So anyway, it cleared my feet up, and they got well. And I thought, I'd like to keep that medicine because I like stuff that works. I mean, I believe it cured cancer. It was good medicine. So anyway, I kept it in my whole baggage box and brought it back to the States with me. And then this guy Backus came in our unit. Nobody liked him because he sent all his money home to his mother, and he bummed off everybody else. And my brother came down one time to visit me. He bummed a couple of dollars off Daniel just going to the day room. So anyway, one night I was cleaned up. I'd finished work and ready to go out and hit the town a little bit. And Backus came up and knocked on my barracks door. And he said, Ellis, you got anything for jock itch? I said, no. I said, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I said, I forgot about that. Over in Thailand, that hot climate, I had the jock itch real bad because I didn't like Backus anyway. And I said, I'll tell you what you do, Backus. You wash yourself real good, get you a good shower, pour some in your hand and put it up on there and rub it in, leave it on for about 30 minutes. It'll do it. It'll do it. So I went on out and hit the strip, and I come back, and boy, it was so appropriate. Just one little guy, his name was Sassy, and that fit him so well, And I got out of my car, and I come walking to barracks. Sassy come out and says, Backus is going to kill you. And so I started getting sobered up by the minute because I feel I'm going to get into it here. So anyway, I opened up the barracks door, and here come Backus. And he had a towel wrapped around him. He wasn't even clothed. I don't think he's going to fight me like that. Was he a sumo wrestler? We're not going to do that, He had that white towel. So anyway, Backus come and said, did you have that for jock itch? I said, yeah, I had to now. Anyway, he said, nobody can stand that. He said, I did what you said. I said, back as you put it on your shoulders, because his shoulders were red. I said, you put that on your shoulders? He said, heck no, man. He said, I put that where I'm supposed to put it. And he said, did I tell you I have a little touch of hemorrhoids? I said, no, man, no. So anyway, he said, I started back to the barracks. I threw my towel off in the hall, ran back, and I was on that concrete floor with my butt up in the air trying to get that stuff dug out of me, man. He said, it nearly killed me. Do you know that cured his jock itch? I mean, that's why I love that medicine. And I don't know what it did to his hemorrhoids, but that was some good stuff. I wish I still had it. But anyway, he never bummed off me after that. And that's the gospel truth. That broke him of that stuff. They told a story on my dad when he was driving the bus. You know, when I was a little kid, you could go to the dime store and get chickens and ducks. They were all, you know, dyed different colors, you know, and for Easter, you know. Well, that's another story. But anyway, this woman, she had a big box and holes in it so they could breathe. I had groceries, and she's rather large herself, and she was getting on the bus and going down the aisle, and somebody knocked her box of chickens out from under her arm, and so the lid came off, and chickens are going everywhere all over the bus, little baby chicks chirping, and she's trying to catch them like that, you know, and you know, she strained herself. You know what I mean? And she strained herself. Dad said, "That's it, honey. If you can't catch them, shoot them." You know. Yeah. Now, driving the bus, you know, I was, of course, I came out of the military. I didn't know what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. Matter of fact, that's another time I quit college. If you if you hadn't been home for Christmas in 3 years, you signed up to go to college. They'd let you out 6 months early. I took that gig, and anyway, I signed up, and the very first day, this professor took 3 or 4 blackboards, multiplying everything by 0, and came up with 1. I don't need that. That's not. I already know math. I know my multiplication tables. I don't need to do that kind of thing. I left anyway, so I started driving a bus. And I love driving a bus. And Trailways had gone 17 years without hiring any new drivers. And so they were used to all the older drivers. And me and a guy named Sturgill were the only 2 young drivers they had. And when they would ride our bus, they'd never seen a young driver before for Trailways. They'd look and make sure you're going to miss that fire hydrant in that corner and stuff. But, you know, I love driving a bus. But I had a charter one time to Circleville, Ohio, the Pumpkin Festival. Anyway, and it was cold. The people were out there, and I had my Greyhound uniform on at that time. I'd switched from Trailways to Greyhound. I had my Ike jacket on, and I wish I could do this. But anyway, it was cold, and I went into this restaurant, and I was having a cup of coffee and pumpkin pie. And this older guy, about my age now, came and sat down beside me. I was only 20-something. And he said, kind of cold out there in the driver. I said, yes, sir, it is. And I just took a sip of coffee, like a drink of coffee. And he said, you know what I do when it's cold? He was a small fella, and he had one of those Rocky the Flying Squirrel hats with the fur on the side, you know what I mean? And he had no teeth. And I hadn't really looked him over good. But anyway, he said, you know what I do when it's cold? I said, no, what? He said, this is what I do. He put his 4 fingers in his mouth and pulled his lip up to where it covered his nose. Like and I couldn't believe that, man. And I started, I had coffee, hot coffee coming out both nostrils. And I was trying to keep from dying there. I couldn't get it in or out, man. Everything smells like coffee. And I was trying to blow my nose like that. And that was the dangest, like he's eating his head, you know, his own head. You know? And I wish I could do that. That was the funniest thing I ever seen in my life. I mean, and I got to think about that afterward. He had to have, before he lost his teeth, large teeth. And he had a curved nose. But he brought his lip right up to there. You know, that's the gospel truth. Oh, another bus driving story. You know, I drove 2 years for Trailways, and I drove 4 years for Greyhound, 6 years altogether. And I lived in Huntington for 2 years. I knew Huntington pretty well. But anyway, when I switched over to Greyhound, I had a run that had to go to Columbus. And so, you know, if you've ever been in Huntington when it's real foggy, that fog comes off the river, I mean, it is hard to see. And so I was coming down 3rd Avenue over to 4th and take a right in the station somewhere over there. But the lights were all, you know, you couldn't tell what was what, you know. And, you know, that bus is kind of like an elephant with diarrhea. It needs lots of room. I can't just turn it into somebody's yard, you know, or a building, you know. So anyway, I'm trying to see the station to get in there. And I recognized that it was the station. I started roping in there to the station, let off some people, took some more people on and changed freight. I come back out the other side, and I'm heading toward Portsmouth now, and then Portsmouth on to Columbus. So anyway, when I got back out down, I think it's 3rd or 5th, I don't know which one goes toward Huntington. And, you know, there's a railroad crossing down there a piece, and you have to, you know, stop at the railroad crossing, put your flashes on, open up your door. And so anyway, I knew it was coming up close, but I was going so slow because I couldn't see well that, I was kind of bored, and I'm watching the street signs to see. And so anyway, I thought, well, let me tell you first. There's two horns on a bus. There's the city horn on the steering wheel, and there's the air horn that's back underneath your seat. And in my whole 6 years of driving, I never ever had to use that horn, never, because I never followed close, and I just never needed that horn. So anyway, I'm waiting for the railroad crossing, and I thought I'll go ahead and get my 15 cents ready. And I reached back like this to get my 15 cents, and I accidentally stepped on my air horn. I said, "Oh shit!" I thought the train run over me, man. I screamed real loud because, I thought the train done come through the side of the bus, and all these people here, it scared them. I mean, man, if I was going to get killed, I know my last words would be. And I tried to be a good driver, make something so stupid, run that railroad crossing, and then it was me. I felt my leg vibrating and got off my air horn. I said, "Oh man." You know, I wish those people never took the bus. I hated to even see them get off. I even turned my head when they got off the bus. I hated that. And that's the gospel truth. Anyway, when I was driving the bus, I was an electrician in the military, and I worked in power plants and mobile units. That's what I did in Thailand. But anyway, I wired houses for a little extra money when I got out. And so this one driver wanted his house wired. And, I looked at it. It was just a small, maybe 900 square foot house. And I just said $400. I made a big mistake. I never went in there and looked up in his attic. And Dad, it was real hot. It was in the summertime. Dad was going to come and help me. So anyway, when I started on it, I went up in the attic. Man, there was storage you would not believe. I mean, I had to move all that stuff just to run one wire and keep moving stuff back and forth. And there wasn't a floor. It was stepping on ceiling joist to ceiling joist. And I was so mad at myself for not looking in the attic. I would have charged him double that. So anyway, Dad was helping me, and I had a sewing machine to move, and I was walking on a board, and the board flipped, and I threw the sewing machine. I came right down through the ceiling, down like this. I was holding on to the rafters. Oh my gosh, a $400 job, and now it's terrible. And Dad said, "Oh, son, thank God you did that. Now let's have some cool air up here, And I said, "Dad, this ain't the time to be funny, man. Look at this, man. Look at it." And she'd gone to the store, and oh my gosh, what am I going to tell her? He said, "Don't worry, let me first of all move over and let me get some cool air." And Dad was leaning down the hole, and it was so hot up in the attic, and that breeze did kind of feel good, but I wouldn't have done her house like that just to get. Anyway, and I was hiding over in the dark, looking through the hole when she came home, and I saw her go by and did a double take, and all that row was down on her coffee table and all that insulation and stuff, and Dad went down there and calmed her down. But I finished wiring the house, and I fixed the ceiling, and I made $400. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, let me see what else. Oh, this is when I was selling cars after I quit driving the bus. Joyce and I were, huh? How did I meet Joyce? Well, that's another story. She got on the wrong bus. One morning, how I met Joyce. One morning, I was driving the Gully Bridge run. My seniority, I was forced on that run for a while. And anyway, Joyce got on my bus, and there was a rough-looking crowd in the back of the bus, so she sat up front here by the driver. I think she just wanted to sit up beside the driver. But anyway, no. Anyway, so going up through Malden, you had to go down in there and around, and they've taken that bad turn out there. But there was a real sharp turn there, and Smith Transfer was stationed up there, and they came around that curve, Smith Transfer truck at the same time I was going, and our mirrors were about that far apart. But, you have to glance at your rear tires to see where you are so you know how everything's going to fit. Look at his mirror. Anyway, and when we met, she screamed, and I said, "Did that scare you?" And she said, "Yeah." So we started talking, and then I kept running into her at the bus station because she used the bus a lot. She didn't have a car at the time. I introduced her to my dad once, and then my buddy Sturgill, then I asked her out. Remind me of one girl in high school. When her grandmother died the third time, I got a little suspicious. But anyway, yeah. But anyway, I kept matter of fact, the very day that I fell through the ceiling, and my hair was all dirty, and had an attic sit on me, and I stopped at Kroger's, and there was Joyce and her boyfriend, and she was dating at the time. And I was telling her about what happened, and what he say, "This guy's crazy, let's get out of here." Yeah. Yeah, I ran. But I kept running into her, and I started dating her then, and what I love about Joyce, we both had similar backgrounds. She was raised over in a camp over Boone County, Kirk Holler, And there were 6 in their family, 5 in mine, and we were raised poor. We had a lot in common. And I can't play any music. I have tried. That's another story. Anyway, when I was a little kid, I mean, that's why I'm so fond of Roger. When we were riding our bicycles from uh, Crooked Creek to Hen Lawson, Roger would sing the wreck of old 97 or sad movies. Now, he could hit all kind of notes. And I love to hear Roger sing. I made him sing to my mom when I took him down there, the house. But Joyce was a very musical family. Her brother plays 12 string, and he's traveled in a band for 2 years. Anyway, so, having similar back, I knew this was a girl for me. Of course, I've been married twice to the same woman. I've eaten more crow in this room will hold. But is that what you want me to tell? Okay, we're done. Okay, yeah. When I was selling cars, uh, it was a hot day in August, and nobody was coming out to look at cars, and you could see the heat wave coming up off the blacktop, and nothing. We're standing in the air conditioner like vultures waiting for somebody to come up on the lot. Anyway, I don't want to mention his name, but anyway, I was Burt Ford, and his son-in-law got a phone call, and I saw him. He had big eyes like this. So he was real excited. He says, "Some woman said she's naked and wants to buy a car." I said, "Well, sell her a car." and he said, "No, I don't want to talk to her." I said, "Well, let me talk to her." He said, "Go ahead, talk to her." And so anyway, I don't want to mention her name because if this is recorded, and I said, "Yes, ma'am, this is Paige also, Burt Ford." And she said she was having the Mercedes bring her car. She was having the Cadillac bring the car, and she wants me to bring the best car we have. And I got her address over in Kanawha City. I don't remember this real fancy homes by the river. Anyway, so I got her address, and I called down to Tim down there. I said, clean me up one of those Diamond Jubilees. Now, this was 1978, and I think there were maybe close to 30,000, but it's really decked out. Burnt orange, I don't know if y'all remember, 78 Ford T-Bird. So anyway, Tim cleaned it up. Vic cleaned it up for me, and I got it, and I went over to her house, and I could see in the door it had white carpet, and a electric staircase going up, lift. Anyway, and I rang the door about 2 or 3 times, and nobody came. And so the door was partially open, and I opened in there, and there she was laying on the couch. Now, she was fully clothed. So anyway, I yelled her name 2 or 3 times, and she didn't answer. So I just walked on in and tapped her on the shoulder, and I said, there was no other Mercedes, no Cadillac people there, just me, Ford. And so anyway, I said, I brought the car you want to see, and she was drunk, but she was clothed. And so I said, let me show you. So I helped her up off the couch, and it was a very mansion house. So I took her out there, and I said, let me take you for a ride. I wouldn't dare let her drive. And I put her in the car, and I showed her all the amenities of the car. I drove her around McCorkle Avenue, back around and everything, and I said, now, if you'll just sign here. The car was 29 something back in 78. I said, will you just sign right here and give me a check for 29 whatever? She said, well, it won't fit in the garage. I said, well, I want it. And she said, well, that's my garage. It won't fit there. And so I looked and had one of those kind of doors that went out like this and in, And I looked and it was just plumb full of stuff. And I said, okay, that's the only objection she has. So I took her back in and laid her down the couch. I took my coat off, took my tie and shirt off, took my T-shirt off, just me. And I cleaned that garage up. I wringed them out with sweat, and I found a rag, wiped myself off good. I had everything arranged. I put the car in the garage, the door come back down. That's the only objection we got. I went in there, I said, ma'am, if you just, come here, I want to show you something. First, I took her out there and showed her, there's your car in the garage. Now, if you just sign right there and give me a check for $29,950.21. And what could she say? She wrote me a check for the full amount. Man, I was on cloud 9 driving that big T-Bird back to the garage. I said, Lee, you should have taken that call. I sold that car full sticker. She never asked for a discount, and I never offered one. Full sticker, man. And he said, she's drunk, it won't stick. I said, okay, but it was a long shot. It was something to do on a hot afternoon. I sold her a car. So anyway, the next day I was so excited, hoping she would come in and pick the car up. It was all cleaned up and ready there. And here she came in. She was a very good-looking woman. She had a suit on with a brown hat and a little yellow feather. And she came in, and she brought me a bouquet of flowers. She signed that check, and I'm looking at Lee the whole time. Signed right there. That check was good. The car was good. She's gone. And I said, Lee, you should have taken that call. You should have taken that call. Full sticker. I forget what I made on that. But anyway, she came in about a month later and bought another car, same deal, for her daughter. Never asked for a discount. I never offered one. Full sticker. That's gospel truth. Yeah. When we had our first baby, Danielle. Anyway, not that I'm cheap, But, I didn't really need a babysitter if I can take care of her myself. So my office was in my house then for 6 years out Clearview Heights. And so I had a little playpen, and, and Joyce was pumping and putting the milk in the refrigerator for me, and I thought I could handle it. So anyway, I did for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months or something like that. Anyway, and so this one day, I'm on the phone, and Danielle's crying. She's wanting a bottle. And so I took the phone off the hook, and I went over there. I said, honey, it's okay. I'll be right back. And she went, ah, and put her fingers right up my nose, and I had 2 streams of blood coming out my nose. I mean, she just put her fingers up my nose and curled them. And so, little old sharp fingernails. And so I said, gee whiz. And so I went to the refrigerator. I made a monster there. And so I got the bottle, and I heated it and tested my arm. It's all good, and I'm still snorting and wiping blood. And so I picked her up, and we kept this one room pitch dark with a blanket over the window. So I had her here, and I had the bottle. I'm good to go. And I went there to sit down, and I went right in the floor because somebody moved the chair. So I threw her up in the air. Now here I broke my back. I got blood out of my nose, and so I got the chair. I just barely did miss it, and I pulled it over, and I said, and I'm giving the bottle. The phone's off the hook, and she finished all the bottle, and I burped her, and then I thought I smelled something. I don't want to go. I'm trying to get back to the phone, so I put my finger up. Yeah, it was crap. You know what I mean? So here, I got a bloody nose. I got poop on my finger. My back is hurting. Man, I can't do it anymore. We're getting a babysitter. So when Joyce came home at 5 o'clock, I'm standing there with her. We're getting a babysitter. I tell you, my back was hurt. My nose is bloody. And anyway, so that's a true story. Anyway, that's the gospel truth. And Danielle, we didn't know this happened to Danielle until we went to sixth grade graduation at the Bible Center, yeah. And we're watching this slide, and every one of the children had to pick their life verse. And anyway, and so it came Danielle, her picture came up on the projector on the screen, and Mrs. Berry was talking about it, and she said, Danielle Ellis, she said, if I live to be 100 years old, I will never forget the first day of the second grade. Anyway, she went, but first I tell you that everybody, you had a list of stuff you had to buy for them to put in their cubby before school started. It wasn't like it, well, anyway. And so we had the stuff anyway. So she said, I wrote a Bible verse on the board, and I gave them time to copy it. And I told everybody, copy it down. Anyway, she said, I heard this whimpering and crying. And I looked around, and she said it was Danielle Ellis. And I went over down and got on my knees beside her. And I said, what's wrong, honey? And Danielle said, but Mrs. Berry, it wasn't on the list. She said, what wasn't on the list? She said, a copying machine. I mean, that's a literalist, Yeah. But Danielle was used to going to my office, putting stuff on it, hitting the button and copying it. I mean, at least you'd look down the room and see what everybody else is doing, but she was just focused on getting that copied right quick, Yeah. That's Danielle. Now, and when we were building this house, we were living up at Long Meadow Park, and we lived up about a year. Anyway, so we had a coupon to buy 10% off at Lowe's, whatever. So we saved that coupon until we went and bought all the commodes and all the vanities, a bunch of other stuff. And so we borrowed Charles's truck and trailer and my truck and trailer. And so we did it all one trip. And Joyce had told Danielle, but she hadn't told Christina that we're going. And I forgot to tell you this, too. It's a very important part. The girls both have been studying that book and reading about the rapture. So anyway, we left before daylight. Yeah, Left Behind was the name of that book. So anyway, we get back to find out what happened. We're loaded. That then Christina woke up and went in our bedroom, and there's Joyce's gown flat on the floor, and I'm gone. And she said, oh, the rapture. She went running back to go to Danielle's room, and she looked out the window. Here came Robin. Some of y'all may know Robin. I don't remember her last name, but she's a beautician. Saw Robin come driving, and she said, poor Robin didn't make it either. Every time I see Robin, I say, poor Robin. She knows what we're talking about. And so anyway, ran in Danielle's room. Danielle, the rapture happened last night. Mom and Dad are gone. Now, Danielle knew that we went to Lowe's. She popped up and she said, do you think if the rapture happened that the Lord would take Dad before he'd take us, I said, should have known. Anyway, yeah. But that's the gospel truth, yeah. And it's amazing how kids now, I love this story here. I can't wait to tell you this one. Anyway, yeah, I can. Anyway, I was raised with hogs and chickens and dogs. We had a farm and a garden. I don't know. People don't get wormed anymore, but we used to get wormed all the time. But anyway, so I was worried about the girls petting the dogs and eating. Wash your hands first. Wash your hands. I've grabbed the girls so many times before they touch their food to wash their hands. They touch everything. I don't like them going to a restaurant and touching underneath the table. Anyway, so we had some big strawberries, some really big ones like this. And Joyce had them on the counter. It wasn't at this house. It was yeah, Long Meadow. That's right. Anyway, so Joyce had those strawberries out there. Well, Christine had been out there petting the dogs, come in and got a hold of that strawberry and started eating it, realized she hadn't washed her hands. So she went and washed her hands right quick and came back and forgot about the strawberry. Well, Joyce had washed it again and put it in her lunch. And so we went ahead and ate, forgot all about the strawberry. The next day, she's at lunch, and she opens up her lunchbox, sees that big strawberry. Remember what happened? She said to her little friend, "You want a strawberry?" And Heather said, "Yeah, I like strawberry." She said, "Here, you can have it." And she started eating the strawberry, and Christine was eating her lunch. She said, "Why don't you take a strawberry?" And Christina told her the story that I was out petting the dogs and stuff, and I came home, got a hold of that, came back in the house, grabbed a hold of the strawberry, and realized I hadn't washed my hands, and I went and washed my hands, and I forgot about the strawberry. She said, "Oh," and she just kept eating it. She said, "Why? What do your dogs do?" And she said, "Well, my dog plays in the creek and bring dead rats and lay them on the porch there. And I've seen my dog jump the fence and go over and lick the other dog's butt a little bit. And one time I saw my dog eating poop. And with this, man, she just lost right there, started vomiting all over the table. and, oh, her mother was a teacher. Anyway, her mother wasn't as mad as the teacher who was in the room and saw it. And she called over at the house at night and said, "Your family must have a weird sense of humor." Now, I thought it was hilarious. I like to die though. I mean, she didn't do anything to her, just telling her about her dog. But anyway, yeah, she got in big trouble. She had to sit out in the hall for 4 hours because of that. Yeah, yeah. Where's Christina? Anyway, and I want to tell one about my little granddaughter Cheyenne. She's not here tonight. She's with her dad. Anyway, it's amazing. She was only 2 years old, and Christina was divorced. And right here in this house, and we had the couches here. And I came in from work, and I was working on a project out in the yard. And so I spoke to the guy that came on to call on Christina, and I hugged Cheyenne. I went in the bedroom and changed clothes, and I took all my stuff out of my pockets and laid it on the counter. And then all I had on was my undershorts. And I went to put my pants on like this right here, and little Cheyenne, 2 years old, came in and got my phone, took the security code off, put it on camera mode, took a picture of my leg up there in my undershorts, and said, "Look at there," and went running in here to show it to everybody. And I was I couldn't run out there in my undershorts to catch her. I mean, 2 years old, she showed it to me and then took off running. I mean, I couldn't do it. It took me a long time to learn that myself. And my sister-in-law, Tina's sister, called me one day, and Freddie Taylor was diagnosed with kidney failure, and he was having a hard time dealing with it. And so my sister-in-law Tina told me to go over and see if I could cheer him up. Now he's a big coon hunter, and I had coon hunted since I was a kid, so I thought I'd go cheer him up. The only dog we had was that little beagle, weighed about 8 or 10 pounds, and anyway, but she was a rabbit dog. So anyway, I borrowed David's truck because he would recognize my truck, and I went over that little beagle there, and I forgot to tell you, I put my Billy Bob teeth in. I had really good Billy Bob teeth. They had tobacco stains on them, and I had Dr. Vicini make an impression of my teeth so I could put them on, and I could even eat with them. I mean, they look natural, and I can cross one eye like that, and I can still see, but I can't see real good. I mean, I can't make it. Anyway, so I'm gonna go over there and fool him. And so anyway, I put the toboggan on, and I had the bib overalls, and I had Daisy in the front seat, and I went over there, and I got her up, and I went in the house like this, carrying that dog, and I said, "I'm looking for Freddie Taylor," and Carol knew what was going on. She said, "Sure, come on in," and I forget what name I told him, and I said, "Somebody said you might want to buy a good coon dog." Man, these things this big. He said, "That ain't a coon dog." I said, "Well, she's training," Anyway, and so he just kind of got a kick out. He said, "Sit down." So he started showing me all these photos of hunts he'd been on and stuff. Anyway, and he kept talking to him. I talked to him for about 20 minutes. And there was a neighbor there, but when I do that, I can't see good who the neighbor was. And finally, Carol said, "Fred, you know that guy, don't you?" He said, "I don't know that man." And she said, what would you say if I told you he married into your family? He said, I don't think so. You know? Anyway, I took my toboggan off, took his teeth out, and he said, Paige, you son of a gun, it's the last thing I do. I'm going to get you back. You know? But it kind of took his mind off that, and that's a true story, too. Anyway. Oh, and then Holly and Jessica, they just left anyway. They wanted, they always went with me to Logan to see my two aunts in a nursing home. Twice a month I go see them. And, you know, it's the same old thing. I go and sit with them for a while. And anyway, I thought I would try one time to see if I could go into their room and talk to them and they wouldn't know me. So anyway, I decided to try that. And I didn't use my Billy Bob teeth, but I went to Rite Aid and got some horn-rimmed glasses, you know, toboggan, put a flannel shirt on, and put pajamas on, then put my regular jeans over it, and Holly and Jessica were with me. Anyway, so I went to the nurse's station, and they knew me, and I said, could I borrow a wheelchair just to see if I can go in the room and talk to them? I got to kind of blend in. And she said, sure, but I don't want any part of it. And I said, okay. So I got in the wheelchair, you know, and I had my toboggan and horn-rimmed glasses and everything, and I went up here, and I pretended like I had a stroke. I pooped stuff and everything like that. And I wheeled right into the room. And my Aunt Faye was maybe 91, 92, and Merrill was in her middle 80s. And Faye said, sir, you got the wrong room there. And I said, no, I don't. No. And she said, what are you doing here? I said, I got to pee. I got to pee. And she said, you get the heck out of here. I said, no. And I kept inching over on her, you know, just dragging my foot like that. And she said, I told you to leave. And I just kept my head down, my eye crossed, and just going like that. And so maybe she weighed not quite 100 pounds. She went over and grabbed my wheelchair and took me out and down the hall. I could feel the wind blowing in my ears, you know. And to me, I didn't believe she was that strong to be that little. And she just left me there in the hall. And I saw Holly and Jessica just drop down from the nurse's station because they didn't want to be seen. So anyway, I waited a minute, and I turned and I went back in there again, you know. And Faye peeped up and said, there he is again. And I said, I want to pee. I want to pee. And she said, I told you to get the heck out of here. She said, you need to leave loud. And she said, what's your name? I said, Bill. She said, Bill, get the heck out of here. So anyway, when she came over to me, I took my toboggan off, took his horn glass. I said, Faye, why would you talk like that to your own nephew? She said, Paige, she said, you know, you scared me to death. Maybe it caused me to have a heart attack. She said, I was just getting ready to take that commode plunger and wear your head out, you know. I thought, I wish you had her because that would have really added to the story, but she didn't, you know. But anyway, I did get in the room and they didn't know who I was. Matter of fact, none of my family would know if I wish I lost those teeth up in Alaska. I have to get. They were really a good pair. I mean, they looked real, and I could eat with them. Matter of fact, I used them up in Alaska because you know that's combat fishing. You know, I mean, there's people shoulder to shoulder casting, and you know, I had a hook in the head one time. Another guy had a hook in the lip. You know, and so you have to wear sunglasses or you get an eye put out. And so when we go to a place that we liked to fish, you know, I wore those teeth and I'd cross the eye. And I'd start banging the feet, you know, and you have to club these fish too, you know. And I would start making all kind of noise and grunting and carrying on. And so anyway, people were kind of, what's the matter with him? And Jerry would say, we need to adjust his medication, you know, because he's not having a good day. And I'm never going to see these people. I don't care anyway, you know. And so anyway, they would clear the bank and we'd have a good place to fish. So anyway, the very first time I went to Alaska, and I've been 9 times, and you know, Larry's a plastic surgeon, and the other one's a military retired general, major at Tom, and then Jerry was an insurance patent insurance agency, and then my buddy Greg. Anyway, so Greg and I were there, and I said, I wonder if Jerry would know me if I had my teeth in. I don't think so. So anyway, I put the teeth in. This is the first time I started like that. Just as a gag. I put the teeth in, and we're at the airport in Anchorage, and I saw Jerry getting off the plane. And so I went over there, and he was waiting at the turnstile to get his baggage. And I went over to him, got real close to him. I said, you got a cigarette? He said, no, I don't smoke. That's okay. And so I just waited a little while, and I went up again. I said, you got some money? I could get a pack of cigarettes. He said, I don't have any money. You think about that. A plastic surgeon goes to Alaska to fish, don't have any money with him. Lying to me right there. You know, he's supposed to be a good Mormon. You know, I mean, they don't lie to people, you know. So anyway, I mean, no money, no cigarettes. So anyway, I finally told him, and he's paid you son of a gun. But, you know, you shouldn't tell him you don't have any money. I knew he did. But anyway, when I started clearing the bank off that, those boys loved it. And so then I'd ride up and down the river in the boat going up to fish, and I'd have those teeth in, looking half cross-eyed and stuff. You know, people would get their kids and move for me, you know. And so then we were up there for 9 days. I was afraid to take my teeth out. Somebody knocked my teeth out, you know what I mean? So I had to wear it, and I had to I had to fish with those teeth forever, you know. But anyway, so I started taking them, and that's where I lost them at, was in Alaska. That's the gospel truth. And, I want to tell you something about David. David, my nephew, just left, and anyway, he lived with us for a couple of years. He came from Arizona, and in 1980, you know, I lost my sister. She was 33. You know, I lost aunts and uncles and grandparents, but that was the first real loss. And, you know, I probably was wrong, but I spent a lot of time in the garden meditating, and I prayed for my sister to appear to me, and I thought she'd give me a signal, everything's all right. Well, David had just started driving then, and it was a hot evening in June. I was watering my tomatoes, and David was going to borrow my truck and go out to see a girlfriend. And I'm up there just watering my tomatoes, just thinking about my sister. You know, David walked up behind me. He said, I just wet him down real good. I mean, he said, "What's the matter, young boy?" I said, "Man, you don't know what's on my mind. Don't ever walk upon me in the garden like that again." He had to go get changed before he go out on a date. Well, next week or so, he's going out on a date, and I'm back up there with the garden watering. He hollers, "Uncle Bo, it's David. I'm coming up." And I said, "You learn good, you know." Time went on. David went in the military too, came back out, and he married Tracy. I introduced him. I was the best man at the wedding. Anyway, and they moved over on Pioneer Lane, and David was building a chicken coop. And so anyway, you know, they asked me to get something at Sam's because I was going to Sam's anyway. And so I got it for him, and I rang the doorbell, and nobody answered. And so I set this stuff inside, and then I started to go to my truck, and I heard something across the pond, that big pond they had, and I saw David had the air compressor running, and he was building that chicken house. So I thought, well, I'll just see if I can get close to him. So I started running from tree to tree, you know, closing in on him, you know. And I got, you know, I watched him. He would go over here and get a board and go back here and kneel down and nail it. And I got his timing down pretty good. And I was within 75 yards, and I knew I could make that one last lunge there. And so I waited till he picked that board and squatted down, and I closed in on him. And so he was down here on the floor, and I'm standing right behind him like this right here. He's right there. And so when he nailed that board, he turned up and looked, he was right in my face. And I almost got nailed through. His eyes were that big, man. I mean, I got him back. You know, I mean, that's good. And I had an old tree stand, and it was a folding one. You know, it was a collapsible one. Anyway, climbing stand. So anyway, I'm hunting right over here. And anyway, I was up there and facing the tree, and I hunted about 9 o'clock and didn't see anything, so I decided to quit. And I had my harness on, tied in there. And I want you to remember this, Eric, if it happens to you. So I stood up and turned around and started to take my harness loose, and the tree stand buckled down, and I'm hanging out there like that, nothing, you know, because the tree was leaning a little bit, and I was up 35 feet because I could see the ridge. You know, I killed so many deer. It was a perfect place, and I'm out there swinging like this. Now, I never wear my climbing harness like that again because it was loose. And, you know, when you fall, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I'd been kicked really good, but it was the worst kick I ever had. And I'm hanging there, and I can't think about throwing up now. I want to get over to the tree. So I started swinging and got hold of the tree. And I got to forget about that, how that hurts. And I climbed up there, and I took my climbing harness loose, and I started to come down the tree. And then, you know, how the forks of the tree stand goes in like that was now up like this. So when I came down, my coat got hung in one of the forks. So now I can't get up or down. And so I'm holding on to the tree with my legs, so I get my pocket knife out, and I got one that, you know, I can get. That's why I always carry a knife like this. And I was cutting my hunting coat, and I started sliding down the tree. Anyway, when I got down at the bottom, I really did. I stopped and thank God that I'm okay. And anyway, I still don't know how that happened, but anyway, so the next day, David and Jeff went over and got the tree down, and we found the bolt. Climbing the tree, the bolt had sheared and caused it to fall. Well, I went and bought a new tree stand, but then I called Summit to tell them what happened, and I took a picture of myself and took a picture of the tree stand. I've had it for years. Anyway, I said, maybe you need to put a grade 4 bolt in there instead of that bolt. And so he said, are you still going to hunt? And I said, yeah, I was 60-something at the time. And so he said, send me the tree stand. He said, I'm going to send you a brand new Viper tree stand with a skirt and the pad and a spider climbing harness. He sent all that stuff to me free. So anyway, I sent that, yeah, because, you know, I wasn't doing anything wrong with it. Anyway, so they gave me a stand, and they said that I didn't have the bolt tightened in all the way, which caused play in it, which made it break in two. By the time I got up, it just, you know, it's a wonder it lasted that long. But it was dark, and I didn't have it screwed all the way in. But anyway, I got a new tree stand out of that. Mm. David told me one time this place, to get to this same tree, he told me a shortcut. I wish I'd never listened to him. Because, you go out at dark, 6 o'clock in the morning or so, and going over there. He said, when you see this mound of dirt, big mound of dirt, turn right. Your tree you want ends right down there. I'd never gone that way before, but when you're in the woods, when it's dark with a four-wheeler, all these little saplings, you can't see past them. It reflects them back, and so it's hard to see anything, and everything is it doesn't look the same. You never pay attention to those saplings if you're in the daylight. So anyway, I saw the hump of dirt, and I turned right, went down there. It was a rock cliff, went over it, and when I went, I bailed off like this, and the four-wheeler went 3 times and landed back on its wheels, and bows and all the equipment went everywhere, and I scared all the deer out of Kanawha County, and so I sat there for a minute. I mean, there's no use hunting now. I'm done, and I just thank God I wasn't hurt. And when daylight came, I looked, man, it looked like they'd had an explosion at Cabela's. There was a tree stand laying here, and my backpack over there, the four-wheeler down there, my hat, everything was just, but anyway, and you know what? I turned and looked, and there's that tree, exactly like he told me. But that ain't the way to go. Yeah, that's a true story. Another hunting accident that was saved by. Anyway, another hunting accident. I was hunting right out here. I took my four-wheeler and I made a wooden chair. I made a platform, and I think you helped us with that. And I pulled it up in there with a cable, with a yoke, pulley, and I had a really nice big chair, comfortable, up in the top of a tree. And I had a feeder there, and it was the first day of bow season. And I wanted to hunt. I didn't take time to put on camouflage. I mean, I had my regular blue jeans on, but it's so high it was fine. And so anyway, here came this doe, and she kept looking back over the hill, and I thought, well, buck's gonna come any minute. And so I was just kind of bored, and I thought, well, if I was going to shoot her, where I'd shoot her, and I aimed like that, because trying to think where the arrow would exit so you can get good penetration. I did it, bored. I did it again, and then the third time I did it, that deer looked up at me, and I lowered my hat, and I started shaking. I couldn't hold him when I turned it loose, and it hit that deer perfect. She went about 6 feet and dropped. I thought, man, I didn't even mean to do that. I was waiting for a buck, and I was just shaking. I couldn't hold it any longer, and I let it go, and it was a good shot. So anyway, I come down the tree, and I went over, and now it's getting close to dark, and I started to gut it, and usually I get behind them like this. I was doing it like this right here because I was in a hurry, and I went too deep, and I went into the intestines, so I gave a jerk, I can't stab myself in the leg, and I pulled it out. I said, oh, gosh, So I went ahead and finished gutting the deer and got everything out, drug that deer to the top of the hill, and then headed down here, and by that time I was tracking, but I didn't know I'd cut an artery. And so I came down here. You don't want me to tell that part. Anyway, I got it down here to the patio, and I didn't want to waste the deer, and I know I got to go to the hospital. I called Joyce, and she said she's on her way. I called my neighbor up here. He came and got the deer, and by that time I had a puddle underneath of me like that. Anyway, so because I didn't want to waste the deer. Anyway, so Joyce takes me up to Jackson General. Jonah in the triage room knew me personally from other accidents. And he said, what'd you do this time, Paige? I said, stabbed myself accidentally. So anyway, he starts taking all the information. And when I stood up, because I'd cut that artery, when I stood up, my muscles flexed and it shot it all over the wall there, And so I said, Jonah, give me a rag, I'll clean it up. He said, no, man, get in there, get set up. So then, they had my shoe and sock off and had my pants pulled up and had my foot up on there. And so he put the hemostat down and see how deep it was. So he's got to cauterize that artery. And so when he put this fluid all over my leg to clean it up. And when he fired that electric needle up, I almost peed myself. I couldn't take it, man. And so, I can't take that. And anyway, so he said, oh, I see what happened. He put all that water on me and had my naked heel on that metal bed. He was electrocuting me, man. He wasn't, I couldn't take it. I could not take it, And he said, oh, I'm sorry. I see what happened now. So he put a pillow underneath my naked heel, and I was able to take that electric needle in, but he was firing me clear up into here. I couldn't take it. So anyway, he cauterized that and then sewed me up and everything. It was good to go. That's another hunting story, gospel truth. Anyway, this is my last story. Yeah, y'all glad? Yeah. Now I'm telling you what, I forget that title. I don't think anybody in this room would tell this story if it happened to them. And at this age, I really don't care because, you lose a lot of inhibitions when you get up this age anyway. So, I've been every state before with the bus, and I got a lot of requests because I really took care of the older people. I would rather take a bunch of little old ladies on a long trip than I would deal with people on a regular run and drunks and so forth. I love the charters, and I look at it like I got paid for seeing the whole United States, and they paid to see it, and I got it for free. And so I got up in the middle of the night before and taking people to the hospital. I had a special cord made. It was 50 feet long that I could plug into the microphone and plug the end of the microphone. And so people sit there on the bus, especially the first little bit. They don't know these people, and they just want to get away from the memories and stuff. Most of them are widows. And so I would introduce myself and tell them a little bit about myself and what we're going to do on the trip. And then I would say, please tell a little bit about yourself and your name and so forth. And then the bus would roar from then on. People, it got them together. So anyway, I had a request from Murphytown Recreation Club, and they wanted to go. It was a 20-day trip up through Canada. And so I'd driven for them before, and by this time my dad's retired. And so I said, Ms. Roberts, you got any extra seats? She said, yeah. I said, my dad's retired, and if you don't mind, could I take him with me? Because he's a retired bus driver, And I said, if anything happened to me, he could drive, and he loves people and stuff. And so anyway, she said, sure, take him. I said, I'll feed him. He can sleep in my room with me. And I said, okay. So Dad had never been on a trip like this before, so I took Dad with me. And we went up, first to Niagara Falls and ate at the Skylon Tire. Then we went up to Montreal and Ottawa. Now, those French-speaking provinces, I can't speak French, but I memorized enough to get through there. And I carried a blow-up of the city, and I knew NORD's north and SUD south and OUST's west and EST's east. That's all I need to know. I carried a blow-up of the city. And so anyway, then back from there, back down to Sudbury, the nickel mine, and Sault Ste. Marie. And then we head toward Lake Louise. And Lake Louise is a beautiful, pristine lake. Anyway, this one stretch of trip I had 600 and some miles to drive that day. There was no touring. It was just 600 miles to get down the road. And so it was going to be a rough day. Well, first of all, I got to tell you, driving professional and staying in that seat all the time and 20-day trips, sitting on that leather seat. Most professional drivers have trouble with hemorrhoids. I'd had surgery twice, my dad several times. A lot of drivers get hung up on laxatives. I wasn't going to do that, And sunglasses, you couldn't light a cigarette lighter. They're like this, because they get used to sunglasses. And anyway, so we're heading on this trip, and I looked like I was about 4 months pregnant. I hadn't gone in over 2 weeks, and sometimes I went 3 weeks. I'm serious. Because, the law says you're supposed to have 8 hours off from the time you park that bus till you leave the next day. That looks good on paper. But when I get to them to the hotel and get their luggage, the people that need help, and then I go take that bus and get it fueled, get the restroom dumped, and get it ready for tomorrow, that takes a couple hours. And then I got to get up early in the morning, and I got to load their suitcase, get ready for the day. You're lucky to get 4 or 5 hours sleep. It's like that. And you do that trip after trip, back to back, and it can cause some irregularity. So anyway, I'm on this trip, and Dad said, that's going to kill you at a young age. My dad was hung up on laxatives, and I didn't want to do it. I fought against that all, and so Dad said, how long since you had a laxative? I said, Dad, the last time I did that, you gave me an enema when I was a little boy, and I still remember it. I don't want to do that. And so he said, no, you're going to be miserable, because I did feel miserable. Because then even when I would get the bus back clean and ready to go tomorrow, I would sit down on the throne and look at my itinerary for tomorrow and study the maps and everything. So it's constant pressure and irregularity and, eating out of these restaurants and stuff. And it wears on you after a while. So anyway, Dad said, you take one of these X-Lax, you'll be good to go the rest of the trip. I said, oh no. He said, please take it, son. You'll feel better tomorrow. I said, okay. He said, how long's it been? I said, Dad, I told you when I had that enema. He said, well, you better take 2 then. I took 2, and I really don't think there'd be any difference between I'm easily medicated. 1/4 of a stick of that would have done me good. But 2 full sticks of that chocolate X-Lax, I don't think the results are any different than drinking a can of Drano. I'm telling you, it was volatile. And knowing what I know about the stages of pregnancy, I can relate to one. I don't even like to be constipated, but I thank God I'm a man. But anyway, within 20 minutes, I started feeling that little fluttering, like earlier said, little fluttering. And I'm laying there trying to sleep and had a wake up call, and I'm going to get maybe 4 or 5 hours. And then, man, I'm telling you, it was like a washing machine on the spin cycle, man. Hair stood up on my arm. I ran and I went good. And I'm not letting Dad get any sleep either. And then I must have gone about 5 times during the night. And I woke up, I hadn't even been asleep when the wake-up call came, and I felt like I wrestled the alligator all night and lost, man. I felt terrible, ragged as a soup sandwich. I went to the mirror to shave. My eyes looked like 2 pea holes in snow. Man, I was in bad shape. And Dad said, you'll feel better later. I said, of all the days, I've got 600 miles to drive, and I'm so weak and ragged. So anyway, I went down there, and I started lifting those suitcases. And some of those women carry a lot of irony sausages and stuff, you know what I mean? I even accused one woman of bringing her husband in the suitcase, man. I'm lifting, big old giant-sized jumbo suitcase. I'm lifting, and my stomach, you could hear it growling across the parking lot. And it goes, and, and I thought, I need some energy. Oh, gosh, I'm too weak. And I did the worst thing you could do. There's a restaurant there, and I went over and had a cup of coffee and a glass of orange juice. That was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Man, I went back in the restaurant, and I went again. And I still don't feel any better. So anyway, Dad helped me load the luggage, and we started down the road. And usually with the people, we would run 2 hours, stop for a potty break, and run 2 hours and eat, and stop for a potty break. 600 miles is going to take me over 10 hours, 11 hours, if I can keep above the speed limit. So anyway, we got going down the road. Those air rides just started going like that. Ooh, 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 ooh. And I tried to squeeze my cheeks. I tried riding on one cheek, and I started regulating my breathing. I mean, like a woman does. I mean, I knew something about that. And your chills going down my arm, and Dad's just having a big time talking about it, and I hated him for what he did to me. I mean, I have, because of him, tried to be a good driver, tried to do right, be safe, be a good driver, get everybody on time, and he put this stuff on me. I should have not trusted him. So anyway, I know I'm not going to make it at 10 o'clock. And I said, Miss Roberts, and she came out and said, what's the matter, Paige? I said, I think I drank too much coffee. Can I stop down here, just in and out right quick, just me? Yeah, sure. And because I don't want to turn the people loose. I have 10 hours or 11 hours of driving, and they're like little chickens everywhere. You can't get them back on the bus, and I can't risk that. So I went in there, and there was a woman cleaning the restroom. Man, I had to duck walk across the street to another one over here. And I got my business done, come back, got on the bus, and Dad just winked at me, and I said, you sucker, doggone. Anyway, I'm just setting me up like this. So we got started out again, and we stopped again at 10. I went again. Stopped at noon, I went again, but at least I went 2 hours that time. And so anyway, at lunch, I went again. And anyway, so that afternoon, I ate the first bite I've eaten all day at a truck stop. I had a tuna fish sandwich and glass of iced tea. And Dad said, you feeling good now? I said, no, Dad, I still feel terrible. Because I hadn't had any sleep last night and driving all this. Anyway, so I had about 150, 200 miles to go. And so I started down the road. And Dad's this time got the microphone singing to the people. Now, they love to hear Dad sing. Dad can sing pretty well. So anyway, going down the road and got into another wavy road to start that bus doing that again. So, oh, gosh. That's another thing. I sit on a white sheepskin. When you're in the saddle for 20 days straight in the sun and so forth, you can't just sit on that leather seat. Your butt would look like a orangutan been on concrete. I know you've seen them. You have to have a nice sheepskin to sit on. Anyway, I'm going down the road there, and after I ate that tuna fish, and it started on me again, and I started chilling, and I started cramping, and my stomach started, and I don't know if they could hear it. I got the blowers on, but my stomach was growling. And anyway, so I didn't say anything to anybody. There was a sign that said, truck stop 10 miles, bus is welcome. I'm not going to say anything to anybody. I'm pulling it in there. And so I was cramping myself and calming myself and going to go in there. Anyway, and 2 miles. And so, oh, boy. And then 1 mile, and then there's the truck stop, man. There's the truck stop, And so I put my blinker on. And, the driver sits in front of the front wheels. They're back here, And so I didn't say anything to anybody. I started roping her in there. And that wheel dropped in the chuck hole. I lost it right there, man. Lost it right there. I have done good all day, and nobody knows anything about it. And my dad's nearly killed me on this trip. And 29 years old, and I've crapped all over myself with 40 people sitting behind me. And so I didn't do anything, but I did feel better. But I started roping it back on the road like this here because I was afraid to pass gas. Anyway, and so I got on the road, and I'm driving like this here, and I look like bean juice on my sheepskin, man. And so anyway, I'm driving down the road like this, and I'm driving like that, clutching stuff anyway. And so the bus is, and I thought, well, how in the world am I going to get out of this? I'm not getting out of this seat. Nobody's going to pry me out of this seat. I'm not going to help the people, man. I just want the day over with and kill my dad tonight. And so, I had about 50 miles of driving that mess. Anyway, so I'm trying to think how to get out. And I said, Dad, he said, what's the matter? I said, come here. And he came up and he leaned down in front of my face. I said, Dad, I just crept over myself. He said, you did? I said, yeah, man. How am I going to get out? He said, don't worry, I'll help you. And he patted me on the shoulder and went back and sat down. And I'm still thinking, how am I going to get out of this? And I'm about 5 miles from the motel. I said, Miss Roberts? She said, what, Paige? I said, Miss Roberts, I'm sick. I'm too sick to help the people off the bus. I'm sick. I'm afraid if I stand up, I'll throw up. And she said, Paige, I know you weren't joking around like you used to do. I know you're kind of feeling bad. She said, what'd you eat? And I said, I didn't eat anything until we directed the truck stop. And she said, what'd you eat? And I said, tuna fish and iced tea. She said, you shouldn't eat tuna fish in a truck stop like that. You might have got food poisoning. I said, I believe that's what I got. Food poisoning. I think that's what happened to me. And so anyway, at least I'm getting out. And I said, I don't think I can lift those suitcases and get them out. And Dad said, I'll help you. I said, you sucker, it's about time you said something, man. So anyway, I got the motel. I pulled in there. And so usually I go in with her because she's carrying a lot of money to pay the room. Somebody has to guard her. Well, Dad went in with her. When that happened to me, I turned the blowers up all the way, turned the temperature down, and turned the defroster on. I had a lot of air, so I didn't even smell anything anyway. And so anyway, Dad came back out with her with the keys, started passing them to everybody, and I'm sitting like this miserable. It's been an awful day. And so everyone, those little ladies, they love me because I'm good to them. Every one of them had to hug me. I'm saying, okay. I hope you feel better. Some of them kissing me on the cheek and say, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just don't want to stand up. I'm sitting there like this. Oh, gosh. And every one of them hugged me, and I hugged them, too. And I said, I'm okay. Just don't worry about me. I'll be all right. And so they get off the bus, and Dad brings me my suitcase, and I changed back in the restroom. And I went to a little store next door and bought a little box of Tide like this. I put them in the bathtub, like mashing grapes, and I blew them dry with a hairdryer. Turned a $40 pair of dry cleaning only pants into beachcombers, ruined them. Anyway. And that's the gospel truth, and thank you all so much for coming. Is there anything I missed? Wind me up. Huh? I hope you all. Huh? You have, yeah. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. And that's the way it is. And that's the gospel truth. Every